Hey everybody, Brickhouse here, and just like Marvel and Disney, who's on a bit of a losing streak, so is Warner and DC when it comes to the box office. Um, these companies just can't help but literally just, for lack of a better term, shoot themselves in the foot when it comes to their feature films here in the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 to 12 to 24 months. So let's take a look and see what's happened with DC in the last few months, shall we? Warner Brothers suffers 3 DC superhero box office flops in a row. This is from Matt Remke over at The Direct. The DC Extended Universe will be studied forever as one of the most polarizing and complicated movie universes of all time. You got that right. The DC Extended Universe was a convoluted, complicated mess. Every movie seems to have a director's cut that fans prefer. Tone and connectivity are about as inconsistent as who Warner Brothers has making the decisions. And the sheer volume of slow motion pushes the average DCEU movie runtime to 10 minutes more than the runtime of a movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With James Gunn taking over DC Studios and the promise of a new DC universe around the corner, the last 2 movies of the DCEU are going to be The Blue Beetle in August and Aquaman The Lost Kingdom in December, which it's looking pretty bleak for both of those movies, I got to tell you. Unfortunately, Warner Brothers Discovery, the Blue brand faithful, and moviegoers around the globe, the DCEU is limping into that lap after substantial box office flops. As a rule of thumb for success at the box office is that a movie is considered profitable if it is able to double the amount of the production budget. Some people will say 2.5 times, some people even go as far as 3 times, because not only the production budget, but the marketing and advertising that goes into that also has to be considered. This is to account for marketing, distribution, and other various costs along with making the movie. All this information in this article here is provided by IMDb Pro. Let's look at the Black Adam first of all. The Rock. Budget 260 million. They brought in just over 393 million and it lost 24%. It was negative in the profit. It was negative almost 127 million. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe was supposed to change, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was supposed to be that man to do so. After more than 5 years of production, the greatest hype man of all time in the leading role, and the promise of a revitalized DCEU, Black Adam failed to meet the mark financially, critically, or influentially. Black Adam will mostly be remembered for the post-credits cameo appearance of Henry Cavill's Superman, who was then let go right after that. This scene seemed to be the majority focus of the movie and was used as marketing bait to get people in the seats. Unfortunately, DC forgot to make a competent movie around it. The movie that was supposed to be the saving grace of the universe was boiled down to a 2-hour commercial for a Superman versus Black Adam showdown that no one was really banging the table for. And we're never going to see. So there's strike one. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. It had a much smaller budget, 125 million. Its profit goal was 250. It grossed 133, just over almost 134. So it lost 46%. Now this one here is perplexing, because you just have Black Adam, and Black Adam is tied to Shazam. You would think they would have done a Black Adam Shazam movie. But no, they did something else. bringing in the biggest movie star in the world and pandering to the loudest common denominator for Black Adam did not work. As in Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk situation, DC had a built-in hedge falling back on one of its most well-received characters in Zachary Levi's Shazam. Long and short of it is that virtually no one saw Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Promotion being a major factor once again, the trailers for Shazam 2 largely leaned on the established pieces of the DCEU. That ended up sinking the sequel before it was able to swim. The James Gunn reboot was announced 6 months prior. One of the heroes referenced in the trailer was in the middle of some serious legal trouble, and Black Adam seemed to do everything it could to make the people forget Shazam ever existed. This led to the worst box office return for the DCEU by far, outside of Wonder Woman 1984 and The Suicide Squad, which were released on HBO Max the same day they were released in theaters due to the pandemic. Not to mention, they spoiled their own post-credit scene in an ad. What are you doing, Warner Brothers? And that brings us to The Flash. Now, they're saying the budget for The Flash is $220 million. I think it's even more than that. I think it's closer to $300 to $350 million. So they're saying profit goal of 440. I think that profit goal is more up 600 to 700. Just saying. Currently, it's sitting at 210 million. It's not gonna make any money. It'll be another L for Warner Brothers, DC. You know, the big swing with Dwayne Johnson missed. The layup to capitalize on Shazam missed. So Warner Brothers threw the kitchen sink at The Flash, and frankly, it could not have gone worse. 19 years of development hell, along with a leading character seemingly addicted to getting into legal trouble, put this movie in a hole from the beginning. In an attempt to climb out, it added 2 multiversal versions of Batman, including the return of Michael Keaton in the role for the first time in over 30 years. DC tried to raise the floor of that hole by capitalizing on the multiversal area of comic book movies and an eluded promise of this being the movie to reset this entire mess of a universe. And it didn't work. A yeah, but mindset can point to the Ezra Miller of it all and unrealistic expectations being the cause for this cataclysmic performance. However, after canceling Batgirl in February in fear of its quality harming the DC studio's reputation, the studio lost the Ezra Miller excuse in the eyes of the audience. After some genuinely suspect pull quotes from some of the biggest names in Hollywood claiming this to be one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, the expectations were on them. While it's not nearly as bad as its ranking in the box office performance, The Flash either needed to be special or reset everything that came before it to pull in audiences. It didn't do either, and is now boasting the worst ever second weekend box office drop in DC history. Strike 3. Superhero fatigue is one of the latest buzzwords for whiz-bang fandom. That idea is that with the last year of 2020 and the overcorrection of volume for superhero movies, people are not as interested as they once were. Now, I would argue that might be a part. My argument is that we need better stories. We need better character development. Go back to the comics. Pull from the content of the comics. Since 2022, there have been 12 superhero movies released in theaters. Black Adam, Shazam, Fear of the Gods, The Flash will join Morbius, and DC League of Super Pets as the only movies to not cross 400 million at the global box office. In fact, those 3 movies will join Ant-Man the Wasp, Quantumania, as the only live-action superhero movies to fall below 700 million. With Black Adam and the Flash owning budgets north of $200 million, the final stretch for the DCEU post James Gunn announcement could not have gone worse. Fans feel like the trust in this franchise is worse than ever, and that is saying something. Think about it. For all intents and purposes, The Flash was marketed as the Batman version of Spider-Man No Way Home. To apply that to an exercise, if one were to consider The Flash a Batman movie, it is dangerously close to becoming the worst performing Batman movie since 1992 Batman Returns, which was the third highest grossing movie that year. So what's next for DC? Well, they have the Blue Beetle coming out and Aquaman 2 coming out later this year. And the projected budget for those two movies is 120 to 205 million respectively. Say, hypothetically, DC punts and decides not to release those movies in fear of further hurting the already broken DC Studios reputation. It would lose roughly $385 million on production for both and marketing for Blue Beetle. If everything is released, these movies need to gross $650 million collectively to turn a profit for the studio. Black Adam, Shazam 2, and the highest current projections for The Flash will have gained an average of $309 million. This means that if things continue the way they are going, it would be a rough $32 million loss for Warner Brothers Discovery. I think it's going to be higher than that because they have a $1.2 billion problem. And it's going to be more than a $32 million loss. These estimated numbers raise the question, is the potential reputational damage of two more flops for DC Studios worth the $350 million difference between not releasing the movies at all and punting to a fully rebooted DCU? Keep in mind, this is the same studio that willingly ate roughly $90 million so that Batgirl never saw the light of day in favor of the brand. Superhero fatigue is real if the movies are not good. Well, duh, big red truck. There's no reason for anyone, analyst or otherwise, to believe Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 will do any better than the DCEU's latest. For anyone who thinks 2017's Aquaman reaching $1 billion is the saving grace, The Flash had two Batmen and an endorsement from Tom Cruise. Nothing is safe with the DC Extended Universe. So with that, I ask you, is it superhero fatigue, or is it the fact that they're just putting crap out there? Share your comments down below, and please, while you're at it, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the notification bell to get notified when my content is available here on YouTube. You can also catch me over on Rumble and Odyssey. I almost said Discovery. Wow. And as always, I thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you later.